live and hopefully cool. So this is let's talk about it. Where are we? Are we live? I will. This is Let's Talk About It, episode 12 with Jonesy, the man himself, the man that I don't need to get a rant out of like SCW Steve. I'm always good at getting a rant out of him. We always rant about wrestling, me and you, so this has got to be fun. We're looking back at 2021, how shit wrestling has been this year compared to when we were growing up, seeing how cool it was and how mainstream it was, and then we come to this year and we get a Pizza Hut Battle Royale. But well, we're going to get into it, so man, you want to kick it off and we'll just start.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for having me here, Barry. I hope everyone had a good Christmas, but we got a hard job today, definitely looking at the worst of wrestling in 2021. It's not just WWE. There's one AEW story that I think is pretty particularly bad one moment, but when we look at WWE, this was coming off of a really big year last year where we lost fans coming back to the sort of arena and stuff, like having fans and stuff. This was a real good chance, I thought, for WWE to start rebuilding. Did they do it? No, I don't think so. Let's be fair. But should we start breaking it down? Should we go sort of for a countdown format, or how do you want to do it? Totally up to you.
Man, we'll just let the rant flow. There's no need for the countdowns. We'll just go from whatever comes to our brain and we'll just go through it that way. No need for timelines because there's a lot to moan about.
Yeah, no, definitely. Okay, so if we start at number one then. So 19th July 2021 this year, WWE brought back Keith Lee. He came back after being off TV for months. He'd last beat Matt Riddle in February, and they just brought him back in an open challenge match. And he's facing Bobby Lashley. There's a couple of issues with this. This is somebody you could have built up over time to come back that fans wanted to see. Why'd you put him in a match where he's got no chance of winning? He comes back and jobs. Obviously, he went on to get released later in the year, which wasn't particularly good, but WWE are idiots. Why would you put somebody in a match where they've got no chance to win? You could have got somebody from NXT at the time to just come up for this open challenge. And open challenge has always been a kind of a throwaway in the past.
Man, I don't understand. Like you just said, there's no need to give this guy this open challenge. Like he has got something that you could build on and kind of grow it over a year. Maybe make him a challenger for like a Roman Reigns. But they just were like, you know what, we're going to job him. And then that brings into the point of like Karrion Kross coming up and being whatever. He put me in mind of, I don't know if you remember the Sultan back and like
Sultan.
Like that stupid mask and stuff. It just put me in mind of that. But it just in 2021 we shouldn't have been looking back at like 1993, 94 to see what characters would work this year. But there's like you said, there's like the Keith Lee stuff's weird that I'm getting released, I'm not getting used, changing it to Bearcat, Keith Lee, and just like being like, we're going to change your name and then we're going to release you because it doesn't matter.
I just think it's a joke. Like, you had this guy who was so good in NXT. Like, he was a champion. He got wins over people. He came in really credible. One of the most hyped wrestlers. Potentially could have come in and done something and didn't do it. But going on to Karrion Kross, as you said, this guy, NXT champion, it beat Finn Balor. It beat Damian Priest. He buried loads of people. He was unstoppable. He had a great entrance. He had best entrance since Goldberg, probably, arguably. But comes up and he loses to Jeff Hardy. This is Jeff Hardy that didn't win for 12 weeks, with losing to people such as Veer Mahan that hasn't even come to Raw yet. That type of person. This is what we're doing. This isn't somebody coming up that's not a champion. I think at that point NXT died. I've got to be honest with you. I think it's a joke.
It just left the building at that point, didn't it? It was like NXT was cool. You had all this like Karrion Kross with the Scarlet coming out and the gimmicks were working. Obviously, I don't think NXT's been great since the start of the pandemic. It's had good moments, but it's been slowly fizzling out. And then at that moment, it was just the final nail in the coffin. It was like, that's NXT done, because nobody's coming from there to come up to the main roster to do anything. And
I just think, like, if you go back to that sort of the time when he came up, then so they just announced it mid-show of Raw. There's no build up to this year's NXT champion coming. It just turns up. You put him against Jeff Hardy, you're just thinking, well, this is going to be a squash. This is the first show where fans are back as well, so you want to create an impact. He loses Jeff Hardy, ridiculous. He then comes back sort of weeks after, loses again. He hasn't got Scarlet, he hasn't got his entrance. He went from being sort of the Ultimate Warrior at his prime to basically Legion of Doom with Droz or something. He came down to that kind of level. It's just such a fall from grace, really. I just think
it went bad pretty quickly, didn't it? Like, it was like Karrion Kross was there in the NXT, we knew him, but everybody knows like his character and stuff, and then he just comes up and it's like, what happened here? Where's all the stuff that made him cool? He just kind of came up. But then obviously there is Damian Priest has probably been the best one that's came up and been used recently, but it's been apart from that, and then obviously we'll need to link that into the zombie match. That's when wrestling this year really just died for me. I was like, I'm not taking this anywhere near. It's not as cool as what it used to be, and there's no point in me trying to compare it to the old stuff that we used to see. We've got fucking zombies standing on the outside, and then Miz apparently got ate by zombies, and then now he's back, and nobody's addressing the fact that he got ate by zombies.
It's a running theme. So let's look at that then. So this match gets announced as Lumberjack. I'm thinking this is okay. We've seen this so many times already. We saw them at WrestleMania in the tag match, which was fairly good with Bad Bunny. It was on quite a good standard. You get the Lumberjack match. You're thinking, as going into the show, this will be a great chance for people such as Akira Tozawa to get time on TV and stuff like that. Yeah. All of a sudden, it's zombies, no build. There's some in the pre-show. Next thing you know, you kind of get sort of WWE went as far to say they had like Miz and Damian Priest on the outside competing against zombies, like they're teaming up. And it's just ridiculous. The best part of the match is John Morrison. At the start of the match, he's there, and then he just disappears. He's able to go through a crowd of zombies. I don't know why, he's a ghost or something. He can go through the screen or something and disappears, then comes back. He does a great tope kick. That's kind of the heart of the match. But the best part of all is just sort of Corey Graves with lines going sort of. He's gone to get sort of Negan and stuff like that. He just comes out with lines going. He's stuff like that. It's just absolutely hilarious. And you sort of they're channeling these zombies and all this lot just for a payout. And you look at it like this, you've got it's just one of the things where we've seen this numerous times before, like Miz and Damian Priest by this point. For me, I just thought it's a joke, really. I get you want to sort of make money, stuff like that, but with comments like about Lucille and stuff like that, why are you comparing The Walking Dead to wrestling? It's just, where's the comparison? If this was Walking Dead, it might be decent, you know what I mean?
Also, the meeting for that, like the writing meeting for that must have been brilliant to be in. Like, guys, how can we make this match a wee bit different for the other 10 that they've had? Zombies. That's what we can do. What the fuck? Why are we adding zombies to this thing?
I just think as well, prime another one is you get Corey Graves kind of like lines of don't adjust your TV screen. This is an ECW too, which it's a smart comment. I thought it was funny, but it's just a total joke. And the way you get sort of the zombies, they're not able to get in the room for the whole duration of the match. The minute the match ends, they're able to get in the room. All of a sudden, it's almost like someone unlocking the door with a key. It's just an absolute shambles.
It was really embarrassing. And then the other embarrassing moment, big one for me, is that Pizza Hut Battle Royale thing that just, and it wasn't even like, they didn't have like a special Pizza Hut deal that you could get. I don't know if you had that in America, but obviously it wasn't here in the UK, and you're just like, why have these people got pizza and a Battle Royale?
People are more interested in getting a pizza than getting the 24 title. You know what I mean? The title is secondary to getting a pizza because people don't have money to buy a pizza in wrestling, obviously.
And then the week after, we have another Battle Royale to crown the number one contender, and it's like, you just had one at the pay-per-view that you could have used. Like, you could have still had the Pizza Hut marketing shit and then do the number one contender, but it was these wee moments that were building up as more of that kind of entertainment side that you see coming in now, like the product placements and stuff like that. And wrestling's meant to be sports based, so obviously it's got stories and stuff that don't make any sense, like The Undertaker back when we were younger. But it's like they're going to bring in all this marketing shit that in marketing and advertising. I work in marketing and advertising. It ruins everything. It's we literally go in just to make the most amount of money out of people. That's all what our job is, and it's just going to ruin it. Cause imagine like Mountain Dew logos, like the Slim Jim stuff that was in WCW. It's going to end up like that with like Pizza Hut.
I just think the fact they're willing to throw away. They had this cool feel at WrestleMania, as we said earlier in the video, with Bad Bunny. It was an amazing match. We had that moment with Bad Bunny. They continue to follow up. So between sort of February and this match, we see Miz and Damian Priest, or Miz, Morrison, Damian Priest in 9 different matches, and it's rematch after rematch, week after week. This is another problem. This is rematches every week on Raw. So if you haven't seen it once, rather than go out and pay a bit extra, get Bad Bunny more long term, which would have probably made sense. People would like to have seen him again. You just go to zombies. But as I said, with bits of Miz slipping up the minute the match starts, other bits where you just got sort of, it makes no sense. And as you said earlier, Barry, no follow up on Raw. They don't explain it. There's no nothing. Miz is injured. Morrison, they don't explain he's not a zombie. It's just, they don't have an idea. There's no plan B tomorrow. Whereas back in the old days, I'm saying every time, you would know they'd have an idea long term. If it weren't any good, they'd have an idea. Really,
even there's no saying that everything back when we were growing up at the peak of wrestling was great, because some of it was utter terrible. But even the terrible stuff back then is at least a good 10% better than what we're getting today. And I know something that we did want to talk about is the whole Alexa Bliss
God,
like
that can
thing
be
with the
a chapter in itself. Like we can go on about that. Could be the duration of this video, but we'll come to that. Just one last thing on the Miz and Damian Priest. So the thing with Miz and Damian Priest, I think the worst thing of all. I don't remember this match. Sort of it happened obviously back after we had a handicap match, which was Miz, Morrison, and Damian Priest. End up with the Miz getting stripped and rolling around like he's on fire or something. They got a roll up win, which last ended Damian Priest's 9 months winning streak on WWE, where he'd never been pinned. Absolutely ridiculous. But there we go. Do you want to go to Alexa now, or do you want to save that?
if you want to head to keep on that undead supernatural terrible feel, we can head to Alexa's terrible run at that.
So let's go to this. So this was sort of built up from December 2020. This was a 7-month build going into WrestleMania with Randy Orton, the Fiend, and it was ridiculous stuff like Alexa dribbling black goo out of her mouth like a toddler, stuff like Alexa throwing fireballs, Randy Orton doing his best Man in the Iron Mask impression. Remember that promo back in January where he had the Iron Mask? It wasn't a bad promo, to be fair, but it went nowhere. It was 1 week, and he miraculously had all his skin back. And another great one as well, almost like from Spider-Man or Marvel, which was 2 Randy Ortons that went nowhere as well, which was just absolutely ridiculous. It was Randy Orton laughing at Randy Orton, and he had a different voice, which kind of went nowhere, which we never explained. We then get to Fastlane, where we've got the Return of the Fiend, where he comes out, totally different Fiend. Alexa pins Randy Orton, which was just ridiculous. There's never been any contact men on women, so that was a total waste of time in the build. That had been going on months and months and months. We then get to the Fiend coming back. It looks like something out of the 1970s film The Creep Show, in all honesty. He looked like a total out of joke. He looked like he'd be there with a cake, like Father's Day or something. I'm here, Father's Day, all this crap, basically. We then obviously get to the match at WrestleMania. So this is where it starts going wrong. So Randy Orton's there. He obviously comes out, which is fine. The show opens up, which was a hard thing to do, because obviously the night before we had the world title, which was Lashley and Drew. So it opens up. We then go to the Titantron, and we've got sort of the Fiend walking through Quantum Leap or something, going through some sort of tunnel. He's now healed. He's now back to original. This is a guy that's burnt to death that's now healed all of a sudden. You then all of a sudden get Alexa Bliss down there with a massive Jack in the Box. And it's just, when you look at the Jack in the Box, it looks like a 5-year-old's drawn it, but for some reason there's something from like Jigsaw, like on the side, where you're thinking, oh, this may be good, this may be something. Next thing you know, she's obviously there with the Jack in the Box, turning it all slot. And it's a nursery rhyme. I'm just thinking, what the hell? If I paid money to WrestleMania, I'd be kind of angry. Next thing you know, you kind of get the Fiend come out. He's back to what he was before he was burnt. And he's then walking around like he's doing sort of duty for his soldiering duty, some sort of perimeter or something like that on the top of the box. I'm just thinking, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And then next thing you know, he does some sort of leap, which wasn't too bad. He looks like he's going to actually do something. What was your thoughts, I would say, of the entrance to WrestleMania and the lack of explanations? They obviously, this has been carrying on months and months and months with stupidity, as we said earlier.
It was just confusing, wasn't it, man? Like that whole little feud thing that they had, like the 3 of them, was completely just left me constantly like, why are they doing this? What's going on? Are we going to get an explanation for this that happened, or we got like you said, the entrance at WrestleMania was just like, what are you doing here? Like, there is stuff they could have linked in with, like a Saw movie or something, like just something to make it creepy.
Was just really stupid, like the 2 Randy Ortons and all this other stuff, and Alexa dripping goo, and I get you got to have some sort of, like, Undertaker was always supernatural and stuff like that. I get you got to have, it's not real, I understand totally, but to never pay any of it off and stuff, like you could have said, well, Alexa's a witch or this, like you could have done something to try and explain it. The fact you never explained it, Randy Orton all of a sudden is no longer coughing up black goo, that's gone. Papa Shango's curse has obviously been put back to what in whatever box it was or whatever incarnation it was and stuff, but it's ridiculous. We can carry on with the match if you want to. There is a pro to the match.
Honestly, man, what's the pro? Because I don't have any for it. My pro was it just
the
finished
only pro in the
quickly.
match, I would say, was the Fiend's tribute to Brody Lee. That's the only nice part of the match, which I'm not going to knock. Obviously, it was a fantastic touching tribute. When we kind of look at this as well, when we look at this match, it's a total out of joke. So it's 6 minutes of just Randy Orton basically just doing nothing, kind of get beaten up on. Next thing you know, Alexa's on top of the block. She's been missing for however many hours and whatever. She comes up. She's then got some sort of crown on her head and she's dripping black goo. It's almost like she's been rolling around in mud or something. It just looks absolutely ridiculous. Has no explanation and stuff like that. Doesn't look like Lily or anything like that. Next thing you know, you kind of obviously get Randy Orton delivering 1 RKO and he pins the Fiend. The Fiend's distracted. This is a Fiend, bear in mind, against Seth Rollins and Hell in a Cell, took 15 curb stomps and a sledgehammer and still got up at 1 count. What the fuck are they doing? Sorry, it's an absolute joke.
Man, it was just
7 months to get to this point. A 6-minute match.
The Brody Lee stuff I always keep do separate because that isn't part of that story. But see, like that whole match, just apart from the Brody Lee stuff, that whole bit is just embarrassing. Like, is it? that was at the point as well when I was like, it can't get any worse than this. And then obviously we go into like all the other stuff, but I'm like, this is. And you were saying about Lily there, that
Yeah,
is my
we'll
pet
go
hate.
to Lily. Lily's got his own sort of chapter as well, to be fair. So with this match as well, with this match though, like if they do it, so you mean to tell me the end game for 7 months was Randy Orton hitting one RKO and pinning the Fiend? That was it.
That's just
Let's look at after. Alexa disappears, no explanation. The lights go off. The lights come back on. Everyone boos because it's shit. You can't really blame the fans for doing, but it is a joke if you pay your money for that. And the next night on Raw, you're thinking, all right, how can they save this? This was total out of shambles. How can they save this? All they do is have Bray Wyatt in a vignette that doesn't go anywhere. Bray's last ever appearance makes no sense. He's not angry. He's not looking for revenge. Alexa don't really explain it. She looks totally normal. That whole thing with the Black Crown's been dropped, and there's just no explanation. They never ever explain what really happened. If they were logical, the only way I thought they could have justified it was Alexa to get somebody like Aleister Black at the time that was hired and have him wrestle for her. That's what would have made sense. It would have gone somewhere. If you'd have turned the light off at the end of that WrestleMania match and have Aleister Black behind the Fiend and he attacks him with like a new incarnation, a new character, a bit like Malachi Black or something, you're getting something. You're getting some storyline. Instead, WWE just dropped it because they couldn't explain it. And then they went to Lily, which...
it literally felt like they were writing it and then they've just went... we don't know where this is going to go, so we'll just...
Exactly, they had no end game. This is a WrestleMania match. You mean to tell me for 7 months as they come up, WrestleMania's meant to be the biggest show of the year, and this is the best they could do. And this is exactly what's wrong with wrestling, I'm afraid. Sorry, it's just...
no, it is, man. You said it's a 7 month build, and it was for me, it was terrible. The whole thing was just pointless, didn't make any sense. I didn't like it at all. And then they get to Mania to do the finish, 6 minute match, and it's like, that's it, done. And then the night after, there's no explanation, and we'll see you later. We'll just move on to something that's even worse. But like,
I think for 7 months worth of investment, you want something. You want some sort of payoff that's going to not insult you as a fan. Like me personally, I know some people probably thought it was great. I know it's a bit more different, have some sort of craziness, fire, all that lot, but it just, how can you sort of, they was in trouble the minute they went from a TLC to this type of match. The fact this wasn't a gimmick match, they were in trouble, really, I thought, to be fair, going into this.
I don't know how they just couldn't, like, you can still have, like, even back Undertaker, that supernatural feeling. Yeah. We've seen
Look
him
at Kane and Undertaker. Like, I remember they had countless matches at WrestleMania, and I felt excited. They invented it by bringing Paul Bearer back one year. You know what I mean? They did stuff every single year, which was kind of
like the Inferno match, which was really different, and it wasn't that great, but it was just, you felt somebody's really going to get hurt here. And at WrestleMania, there was no payoff. There was no finish or anything to kind of be like, this was a good ending to a shit storyline. It was just complete shit and dropped because everybody knew it was complete shit.
I think the finish, you look at back in the day, Mankind Undertaker, when Paul Bearer turns on Undertaker, one of my favourite memories probably in wrestling ever as a child, it was longevity. It wasn't like Paul Bearer turned at SummerSlam. Oh, he hasn't turned nothing for months on end after. They just don't explain it. WWE, unfortunately, this year, countless storylines, whether it be Elias coming back and not coming back and among other stuff, have failed to follow up on stuff. There's been no end game with a lot of it. The only thing they've really been organised about is Roman Reigns. That's the only thing they've had their shit together with. The rest of it has been off the back of a penguin wrapper, out of a hat at the back or something. It's just been so bad. But
it has, man. Honestly, it's been like, for me, that last year was bad, but no, the worst year, because obviously COVID, you let them slip with everything. This year, obviously COVID was still here, started to get fans back, and it just seems to have went from terrible to just like really raw, especially. It's just hard to watch. Moving to the Lily kind of shit that Alexa Bliss done, that was literally every time that came on, man, I just skipped those matches. And I was doing my review, I was having to sit and get my teeth through it, but if I have to watch this back, I'm skipping this match. I can't watch this shit. The segment isn't good. She wasn't really talking that great when she came out. She sits it on the ring post and everybody acts like it's a special. It's not just a weird looking teddy. It honestly put me in mind of, if you remember Mr. Bean, when he's got like his weird teddy, but like it was worse than that. It didn't even have anything fun, and then she starts. It hurts me to think about, man. It really does. I feel migraine coming in thinking about it.
So let's break it down. So obviously with Lily and stuff like that, no end game again, no idea where they're going. They didn't have a long-term plan at all. Again, anyone with a brain would realise they need to get somebody to portray Lily in the end. That was kind of the only way that it would have kind of worked. Never did that. in the end, it ended up decimating Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler's never been the same again. Remember that Raw where she was hiding, running away scared, and Lily miraculously got rid of all the audience and all the fans and everybody. There was nobody backstage, and Shayna started crying, basically screaming. Yeah, absolutely atrocious. I think the only positive of this is this wrote Alexa off TV, really. I think that so when she does come back eventually, Lily will hopefully be gone. But for me, why are you pushing a doll? You've released countless wrestlers this year, which could have done something. Instead, you're giving a doll time. I get it, it's merchandise sales and all this lot. But to have a doll there, I was just relieved we didn't get Lily and Alexa in a match like against somebody like with Lily killing them. I thought
this brings in my I was saying about marketing and advertising. This just feels like it was wrote by somebody to sell merch because they're getting it in there. And then like you look at Twitter, which the IWC is obviously they know everything about business. You've got like you've got people going, oh, it's like Lily sold this amount and stuff like that. And I'm like, if it's a $400 teddy on like the WWE shop, I'm not going to pay $400 for it. But
I get if it's a 6 or 7 year old kid that hasn't got a brain ready to work out exactly what's going on. I kind of get that, but for somebody in my age and stuff like that, I just kind of thought it was ridiculous. And as we said, I don't want to go back on it, but the last thing I will say about that is that what correlation did this have to WrestleMania to what happened at WrestleMania? Lily, nothing at all. Had no involvement in it, and it's the next night. You know what I mean? It's literally the next night. So it's one of the worst gimmicks ever. Absolutely atrocious. They wrote this to insult fans, I think. And the months it went on TV, whilst they could have been pushing other stuff, it's just ridiculous. But we can carry on if you want, unless you've got anything you want to add on Lily as well.
No, my kids don't like it at all. Like literally,
that's who's targeted to.
They're 6 and 5, so that's the demographic they want, and they don't like. They watch like old WCW, old Raws when I'm watching it, but they don't watch any modern wrestling. They don't, and I put it on like when I'm doing my review. It's on. Just
credit to you for doing your reviews, Barry, because I just, as you see from my channel, I gave up on doing reviews because I just thought I just can't do this with WWE.
I know when it was a point in the year, wasn't it? You just kind of went, I'm not doing reviews anymore. I can't do this.
When is it going to get better? Like, bear in mind, I've been a fan since '91, and I'd seen it years and years and years. I'd given up and I'd watched stuff, and I thought it's going to get better and better, but I just couldn't do it to myself anymore. Like, I know it sounds bad, but I think the thing with Lily, like going into it, if you want to try and put a positive spin on it, I really thought this was a great chance to do Chucky, because Chucky had a new TV series that came out this year that's been really hot on USA Network. It's quite big. I really thought this was the route was going to go down, but Lily went from being a joke and having some sort of potential to making the job squad look like they're Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock in their prime. That's kind of how the transition went, basically.
And then we got Chucky on NXT, which
you did get Chucky, but then
was embarrassing as well.
It was embarrassing, but then
somehow messed up Chucky. It was better.
But then that's the thing with that, with the NXT. So that you've said it perfectly. So NXT 2.0. I think very sad year for NXT. We loved NXT. Did some great work. Was well booked generally. A lot of stars came for it. Unfortunately, never went and did anything in WWE because WWE just wouldn't push them. But NXT 2.0, we're many months in now. And what have we got to show for it? We've got one star coming out of it. That's it. And that's Braun Breaker. He's the only star coming out of it that's going to actually probably do something. The rest of them, I just think it's just a joke. You're really hoping you're turning someone green that's got a good look into the next Roman Reigns instead of taking an independent wrestler that knows how to wrestle and make them a star. I'm just done really with NXT already, to be fair.
I stopped doing the NXT review when they changed. I'd done it for 2 weeks and I was like, I can't watch this. I knew where it was going. Mandy Rhodes is the champion, which she was just at the WrestleMania in a gauntlet tag match and she fell on her way out. Like,
she was trying to wave and she fell. Yeah.
Like, can I just change somebody's hair colour and push their boobs up and think I'm going to be like, oh, this person's a good wrestler now? But like you said, Rex Steiner, which I'm refusing to call him Braun Breaker because that's just a stupid name, but Rex Steiner is the star for there, and the rest of it is just like, it's so sad seeing people like Tommaso Ciampa sitting around because you're like the old guy there.
To be released. I'm sorry to be cruel, but you are literally waiting for these guys to be released. And when you look at it, let's look who NXT lost. Kyle O'Reilly gone to the opposition. Adam Cole gone to the opposition. There's quite a few people that have just been gone. And you look at who gets called up from NXT. Keith Lee gone. Karrion Kross gone. This is just a running theme, isn't it? We could go on all day with this, but NXT 2.0 for me, doesn't really work. It's maybe going to TV 14, which may be a bit more entertaining, but I just think it's just a joke. You look at this, it's just a shambles. And when you've got Von Wagner with a name pulled out of a penguin wrapper that's literally doing more turns than bloody a gymnast, if that makes sense.
We've got DWE, Dan, in the
DWE
comments. We love this rant. I think NXT 2.0 would just give more time. Man, I swear I've tried my best. I really, really have. And he also says Braun's great. Feel like Hayes will be good.
I think they're good wrestlers. Let's be fair, DWE. They're good wrestlers, but do you trust WWE in the main roster to push them? They'll probably bring Braun Breaker up and have him lose to somebody like within the first 2 weeks again, which...
I think that NXT 2.0 is obviously no for us anymore. Like, NXT just isn't for our market. We've just been pushed to the side, and I don't know who it's for. And I don't think WWE know who it's for yet either. They're still trying to figure that out. But it's like the Sesame Street jizz, as I always call it, came in, and it's just like, what is this? Like, even when I was a kid, I wanted to watch wrestling because it was like Austin putting the fingers up, beer, like shout, like they're fighting, and it was just like what these cooler people were doing. Then you look at wrestling, WWE in particular, AEW do this as well. You look at some of them and you're like, like it doesn't look that cool. Like, you don't look that funky or something that I'm want to look up to or I could aspire to be. You just look like a...
I think the thing with this as well, this may be a totally different tangent, still NXT related, is you look at, we had a couple of key things there. We had massive build earlier in the year for the battery angle that came, and that was dropped. The comeback was no relation to what actually happened. You had that big hype as well for somebody burying somebody, which was Dakota Kai. That's kind of gone nowhere. And we also had Diamond Mine. Diamond Mine, obviously, there was general excitement of who could be in it, and it's been a disaster, really, I would say, arguably. And then they rebranded it NXT. So the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. It's just not the best, to be fair, is it?
And so I want to bring us to the moment that I know that me and you ranted about on Twitter DMs for a good half a day, and it was the Becky Lynch squashing Bianca Belair, because that was just a slap in the face to Bianca Belair. She was a fantastic champion, done a lot of stuff for the kind of women's division. Really, like, she looked like a champion, looked like an old school kind of wrestler, and then Becky Lynch comes back and does that 30 seconds. And I don't know how they couldn't sacrifice that Super Soaker segment with Woods dressed up as Scott Hall later to give us a little bit of a match.
Well said. I agree. With this one, then, as you said, we ranted about on Twitter. I remember we exchanged DMs and stuff like that. So let's break this down then. So this is at this point, Becky had not been on TV since the WrestleMania the year before. WWE were in the toilet. They were in the toilet. I don't care what anyone says. AEW had CM Punk coming and Daniel Bryan. So AEW, obviously, there was generally excitement and stuff. WWE needed something to step out. But when you look at this like this, Bianca at this point, she'd won the Royal Rumble. She'd eliminated Bayley, Rhea Ripley, co-eliminated Charlotte at the Rumble. She'd had victories at this point over Carmella, Shayna Baszler, and Sasha Banks and Bayley. She beat Bayley twice as well. Bianca had also been unbeaten for 18 months before this 26-second match. When we look at it like this, it's just an absolute joke. Why would you throw your women's champion at a build of 8 months that hasn't lost under a bus for Becky Lynch to come back? I get that Becky Lynch is over. She's the most over woman in WWE. I totally get that, but this wasn't the spot to do it. You should have really kind of chose a better spot, really, I think, for me. You could have had just Becky Lynch come back at the end of the show and save her. The heel turn doesn't work. Becky's a heel doesn't work. They're doing a great job of trying to rebuild and fix this angle still now. But for me, I just think it's a joke when you look at it like this. She's never, ever recovered.
No, it's just... I don't know what they've done.
She's never, ever recovered. She's still struggling to get back to where she was because of that 26-second loss.
I don't think she... Like, anything, like, when it's like a quick loss like that isn't like fumbled, or there isn't like somebody that's intervened or caused like something different to happen. Like, she could see her walking to her. Like, it wasn't like she ran in at the end, added herself to the match as a heel or something like that. It was like, the reason I came back is so I can get this. I don't know, something like this. But they just kind of went,
you're a heel now. You're back. After a year, you're a heel. Well done.
And it's like,
you're a heel.
And then now, like you said, Belair's still really struggling to get back to a believable. Like, how can she be a believable champion again? We've got Dan in the comments again saying he used to be a WWE diehard, even throughout the Thunderdome era. And the lowest, even he's turned to only watching Roman Reigns segments on SmackDown pay-per-views in the AEW in full every week. Man, that's like the same as me. Like,
it's the same as me now, really. Like, AEW is a show to watch, and the pay-per-views, I still do watch pay-per-views, but I just read the results of Raw, and then I will maybe occasionally tune to SmackDown for something I want. But I can't believe they've done this to me, and that's the thing. Like, as a fan of however many years, as you said earlier, it's just one of them things. But as you're saying with Bianca and Becky, the fact they want to put Becky as a heel when everyone was excited for Becky to come back, it's like Austin turning heel back in the day just doesn't work.
Just
And you
feel
give Becky the still same babyface music coming out. It's not like she's coming out and she obviously tries to get heat with the fans, and it's just really, really difficult. I think
it just feels awkward. Like it feels like you have just went, here's a returning person that everybody likes. We'll just get on the bad guy gimmick, like you just said. It was like making Austin like the heel back in the day again. Like
where's the slow intricacy of a heel turn build? Where is it? A heel turn's done in 20 seconds. Let's be fair. Is that what it is like? That's almost like WCW back in 2000. Who's writing this shit? Let's be fair.
This year feels a lot like that later WCW for WWE. It just feels really just stagnant. And then talking about another woman that they fudged, I'm a huge Rhea Ripley fan. Well, was a huge Rhea Ripley fan. She was at Mania. She got the belt. I popped. Love this woman's look. She's got like everything there, and for some reason they have managed to fudge it. Like they have really managed to just mess this up so much. Like I thought she could have held that belt till this Mania, or lose it to like Banks or Becky, Bailey, whoever, and get it back. But it's just is she a tag team with a superhero that's now a superhero that's depressed? Like, I don't.
Superhero that won the title, which was a great moment, and then it was lost, and then chucked the title away because they got bored. Okay, so let's go Rhea Ripley, as you said. So Rhea Ripley, the thing with this one is ultimately looked good at the start of the year. Did really good in the Royal Rumble, got to the final two, was coming off a good hype. Took forever to come to Raw. The vignettes went on and on and on for weeks and weeks, like Glacier back in the day. Never actually came to WWE. Finally got to WrestleMania, got the moment. Was reading off cue cards, which was a disaster. Couldn't do a promo to cut her life. Sorry to say, she couldn't do a promo to cut her life. And then they dropped the belt on her, like literally dropped the belt on her. Never ever recovered. She's now in the 24/7 division, losing to Queen Zelina whenever that happens, basically. But for me, how could you get it so wrong? This was somebody the fans wanted to get behind. Isn't comfortable as a heel. This was obviously going to be a good babyface challenger for Charlotte if you'd have done it right, but WWE have produced her. Another one they haven't built, another one that could probably be released, I reckon, probably next year. I don't want people to lose their job, but I don't think Rhea will want to stay in WWE. I've got to be honest with you. I think Rhea's better than WWE the way they treat her.
There's so many. Like the women WWE's got a great women's division, but it feels like it's just becoming the same three, maybe four faces, and that's all you're getting because everybody else is getting jobbed to these like Flair, Becky, Banks, and Bailey when she comes back. It just feels like they're the only four that really matter. Everybody else is just going to get put into this tag team. And the women's tag team belts this year, man, they've always been terrible, but I just feel like it's really been like hurts to watch it as well. Like it's at the point that when the new year comes, I don't think I'm going to be doing like my daily reviews. I'm going to cut it to like a minute, 2 minute, and put it on TikTok because I'm not sitting watching this 3 hour Raw. If it makes you want to like pull your eyelids off because it's so bad. And like I was saying there, like it's no for us anymore. And you said you were a fan since 1991, so I was born in 91, right? You've been a fan my whole life, and it's reduced you to being like, I'm not watching this shit.
To be fair, I will watch football over wrestling every single day, and I will also watch an actual TV series, whether it be Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, something like that, because there's an actual point that you don't go seeing dramas and stuff like that. Maybe the age I am, but I really thought this year, as I said earlier in the video, that we'd have a chance for them to rebuild. I get your target and a kids demographic, I totally get that, but why can you not make gripping storylines that go so? Why can you not have like sort of heel turns that mean something? Why can you not have it? We're now a year on, yet they still haven't built up anybody for Roman Reigns. There's still nobody on the roster that can beat Roman Reigns. We're having to go back to Brock Lesnar, back to the well for Brock Lesnar. We're going to have to go to Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania again next year. It's like they just don't build new stars. And what they're doing as well is this is probably a perfect junction to go into this one, is they're releasing people and they're giving AEW wrestlers, which AEW turn into stars. It's But
and
there we go.
Even if you look at MLW Impact Wrestling, AEW, the Japan side, UK side, they're releasing all these guys and giving all these independent shows and like the big AEW, like the alternative show, like you just said, all these guys that can work, that have been up in this big promotion, seen how they work, it can bring the ideas and stuff that they messed up or how it could be better to the smaller companies. And I don't know if WWE is doing it on purpose. Like, we'll release these guys to hopefully build up competition, but I hope that's what they're doing. But knowing WWE, they're not doing that.
No, they're not. If we go into the last few kind of mentions I've got of WWE, I don't know if you may have some more you want to add. Would be got to mention the women's tag match that took place back at Fastlane, where it was Sasha Banks, the champion, with Bianca Belair. We then obviously had her against Nia Jax and Shayna. Got to mention Reginald. So on the road to WrestleMania, one of your main storylines, you had Reginald involved in parts that went nowhere, that was eventually dropped. Stuff like this going into WrestleMania is just catastrophic. Why would you have an integral? Why would you have your women's champion in a tag team match, for example, going into WrestleMania? Like for women's tag team titles, it's just ridiculous.
Man, I spend most of my time just shaking my head at this stuff now, because it's just a joke. Like, there is no consistency. Like you say, you've got your women's tag team champions. Have the whole thing is just, what's the point? Where's this story going to go? And talking about like building people to face Roman Reigns is, if you think this year you've had Roman against Cesaro. Where's Cesaro now? Roman against Finn Balor. Where's he? Roman against anybody Roman Reigns has faced has just been put to the bottom of the card. You just named
that exactly, Barry. Roman Reigns versus Finn Balor. That's another great point. Let's go back to Roman Reigns versus the Demon. That finish that went nowhere the night after. This is becoming a running theme. Like all these good things they do these good little things. You think this could be something. They just don't explain it because they're so backwards and so out there. They don't have a logical explanation.
Man, I know we want to go into the WrestleMania card and see where these people have went, but I just want to pull up some AEW issues first. Obviously, for me, I think they rely a wee bit too much on debuts to boost those kind of ratings a wee bit better. But obviously, that's what a new company growing up is going to try and do. But sometimes for me, even to this day, I know it's cool. I watch AEW every week and I always get heat for this. I do feel it's a wee bit like Tony Khan's trying to collect some toys. Like, he's just, I've got like a Sting figure, this CM Punk.
And you're like, out there to try and close the gap. But I agree. I think maybe an overkill. I think when they debuted Daniel Bryan and Adam Cole on the same night was an overkill. Like, it was a great moment, don't get me wrong, but you don't need to do that. That's almost like putting out a big return and then topping it. Like, why don't you stagger it? Same with having CM Punk and MJF for that fantastic promo. Why they're having multiple lines? You want to delay this type of thing, I think, as well. But these are only small criticisms. But at least there's something exciting about them.
I know, like, I can criticise AEW. Like, I would say stuff like that. Their women's division hasn't been as strong, but Britt Baker's been great. Thunder Rosa's great. But, like, it's just small things I would like to see them change. WWE's like, this is becoming for some people it is unwatchable so far. For me, I'm like, this is so close to just being check out the YouTube clips because I can't watch this shit anymore.
It's just difficult. The thing is, as fans, you don't want to invest hours, the amount of hours of programming on TV now, in something that's not going to go anywhere. The thing you've got with WWE at the moment, I've got a fear of getting invested in their talent and they get released halfway through a storyline, which WWE are never going to play the storyline off, to be fair, but it's just difficult.
It is at the point then you're like when announcement of releases, you're like, why do you let this guy go? Like, he was doing something like John Morrison. I know, obviously, we were just ranting about him against zombies and stuff.
Yeah, no, this guy,
a fantastic wrestler. And
he never got used properly. Another one that just...
And I don't think he's really been used properly any of his runs that he's had in WWE. Him against Jeff Hardy was fantastic back in like 2006, 2007, I think that was. Yeah. But every time he's outside that, it's just kind of been, what are we doing here? What you do with this guy? He looks good. He's got the ability to do all these cool moves. He can talk, and like he's got their WWE look. But for some reason, they're just like, no, probably because they're giving him gimmicks, and he's like, I'm not doing this.
It's the shit. All that other crap that just doesn't it's just ridiculous. It's bad American Pie humour that it's meant to be a kid's show, yet you're doing American Pie humour on one side, but yet you kind of risky storylines. It's just shit. But talking about AEW, as you said, let's mention the honorary mention. This is probably the worst moment of AEW of the year. Has to be the explosion between Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley. Obviously, they built this pay-per-view up on comebacks and some new signings, but I was excited about so much going into it. Like, obviously, we'd never had a barbed wire exploding match on American TV. We'd seen it in Japan back in the day in FMW, stuff like that. But see that and what they delivered, it just wasn't particularly good. Really.
It was bad, man. That's when I think at that point WWE was still kind of like, it was obviously it's been shit, but they were people try to do stuff, and then AEW done that, and I was like, how bad can this get? But they've done the opposite. They've bounced back.
Yeah.
Well, WWE just went the other way, but that moment they need to somehow rectify that, don't they? They need to try and do something like it. They didn't even explain it. They didn't even say, "Oh, it was because of that." It was just then. I don't know. It just always feels kind of when stuff like that happens. I'm always like, this is just embarrassing to watch. She could have just avoided
it's embarrassing, but then they the rest of the show is a great show. The match itself is a good match. It's just the finish, which is it's one bad thing compared to a plethora of bad things in WWE. That's kind of the thing. Let's put it out this, Barry. I'll put it out there to you now. So WWE obviously gave various people to AEW. They gave them Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole, by not getting them to re-sign contracts, Daniel Bryan, and CM Punk. And what have WWE gained this year?
Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut, Gable Stevenson, maybe, but
some zombies. See as well, like, even the guys gone from AEW to WWE. I don't think we've had one or two that's went to NXT. It's like a downgrade. It feels like you're going for this show. Even AEW's YouTube channel shows I would place them a wee bit higher than what NXT is because it's just so embarrassing to watch.
I think the thing is, it's just the days of we're going into pay-per-views now, like, and not around the card. And I think obviously as a historian, a wrestling historian, I used to like back in the day as a kid knowing, oh, this is what I've got to look forward to in a month. At the end of the month, this is my card, and you go into that pay-per-view minus an injury, you'd get that card. You know what I mean? The matches have been well built, not every time, but I just think it's difficult. Should we look at that WrestleMania card before we talk about releases?
Definitely, man. Let's have a wee look to see where everybody has went.
That's fine. So let's look at it. So night one, she'll start then. Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre. For me, yeah, they've been pretty solid. They've not sort of gone downhill too much. Drew's trying to rebuild on SmackDown. Bobby is near the top still. Obviously teasing a babyface turn at the moment, which I don't think he works as babyface to me personally, but
no, he should be the big scary looking bad guy. Like that's what he looks when he puts suits on and stuff like that. He just looks like a bad guy. Let's just have him as a bad guy consistently. Like he says, Drew is building back, so that's a good one. Obviously, the next match we've got here is Natalya and Tamina versus the Riot Squad.
Okay,
and
so
that's just
what's become of them. So the Riot Squad, obviously Ruby Riot's gone to AEW, which was a good move for her. WWE released her, which was silly. Somebody in a pivotal spot at WrestleMania, you released her. Natalya and Tamina, they're doing nothing. There was a good feel-good moment when they won the belts. Gone on to kind of nothing. Natalya's a good wrestler, but never used right. Anything you want to add on that match and then in that combination, really?
I feel so bad for Natalya, man, because it's like she's got that, like the Hart dynasty.
She's a good wrestler. I think she's underrated. I think she's a very, very good wrestler. Solid, very solid. She reminds me of in AEW. I'm just trying to think now. The one that's having a feud in AEW at the moment with, the one that's in AEW at the moment that's having a feud with the lady that lost the belt. Oh, my memory's gone. I should watch it. I just don't watch AEW enough.
I can't remember, man.
Do you know what? I'll come to it. Okay, we'll come back to it. But no, so yeah, I think for me, Natalya even is very, very good. I think she's very, very sort of solid. And Ruby Riot's gone on to better things, really.
Aye, definitely. I still don't see her as being in the main event picture for the AEW yet for the women's title. I think that kind of mid-card title that they've got would be better for Ruby Riot to build that division and then move up. But the third match
I've got it now. Sorry. So the one I was talking about was Natalya reminds me of Shayna Deeb.
Aye.
That's kind of who she kind of reminds me. She's a solid worker, solid hand.
Aye. I can definitely see that, man. Does it? Like, I think Natalya would be served as well. She could get released and go to AEW and do like a wee. She's not going to be wrestling for.
I think they're reluctant to release like higher up people, maybe like in the women's division. I think they realise AEW have got weakness there, so they're trying not to do that as much. But we will see. Anybody's probably game, unfortunately.
But so the third match is Cesaro and Seth Rollins. Those guys are going to be WWE for the rest of their career, probably. Maybe Rollins might jump. Cesaro, I think, would be an amazing signing for AEW.
Yeah, they're both very good wrestlers. Cesaro, unfortunately, has gone down the card, never really kind of recovered. Seth has gone on to great things. Seth is really, really good. He's up there near the top now. Probably going to be the next Raw champion, I think, besides Bobby Lashley, really. I think that's kind of probably nailed on.
Yeah.
You got anything to add on them two?
Man, they're WWE for life, really, aren't they? They'll do whatever they say.
Yeah, no, they are definitely. This next one, AJ Styles and Omos versus the New Day. Omos' debut, obviously. Yeah, AJ Styles, phenomenal, great worker. Can't say enough good things about him. Omos, they've got a star there. He's still not particularly good in the ring, but they've got a star there. And the New Day, they're lifers as well, to be fair. Have you got anything else you know as well?
Man, they're there for forever, aren't they? AJ, I hope he takes a leave and goes to AEW for a little bit, put on a couple of good matches, and then finish it. Maybe go back to Impact and finish his career where he made his name.
If only. We then got this next match. This was absolutely horrific. This was another storyline which we probably could have touched on, which we've avoided. It was the Choo Choo Train Slime Fest. Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon steel cage. This was awful, the match itself, but the actual people. Braun surprisingly got released, which was a big surprise considering he's a former world champion. Shane's disappeared off TV. I just thought, for me, very surprised Braun went. I think that's a cost-saving measure. He's now in Ring of Honor, which is shocking to me, really, that he's gone that far down.
Man, I think like you said, it was the choo-choo train thing. I think we done
it was atrocious.
SCW retro review, and I was ranting on that. But the bit I think we were going to touch on with that was the slime.
Ghostbusters. Incarnation of slime and Nickelodeon slime from Guts or something. It's just absolutely atrocious.
And then obviously we've got Bad Bunny, Damien Priest against Miz and John Morrison, which we already kind of
touched upon. Morrison unfortunately released, which was a big tragedy. Miz is still there. I don't really care for the Miz, to be fair. And Bad Bunny, obviously, he took his money and ran, which you can't blame him. He's a star, so good. I think it would surprise me if he comes back at WrestleMania next year again. To be fair, I think he'll come back again, maybe.
What about Priestman? Would you like to see him stay in WWE, or do you think?
Yeah, he's really, really good. I think despite WWE mistreating him in parts, he's stuck in a tweener role at the moment where he's not really a heel or a face, but he's good. He's a good wrestler. See, I'm a fan of Damien Priest. He's pushed him quite well.
I mean, I think he's fantastic. I would love to see him get that. I want to see him win the Rumble this year, but knowing WWE.
If he did. I think if you're looking for an early Royal Rumble prediction, on me, it'd be Brock Lesnar. I think Brock's winning the Rumble this year. That's what I think.
I was thinking Roman and Brock at that day one pay-per-view. Lesnar will get the win.
That would be a screw finish.
I was thinking Lesnar will get the win, then Roman goes on to win the Rumble because
they've got nobody else. They've got absolutely nobody else now. The Rock doesn't want to come back. Let's be fair.
The final match for night one of this was Belair versus Banks, which is my match of the year. Fantastic.
That was a great match.
And like we said, Belair has went on to do nothing, really just been killed by Lynch, and Banks is just picking when and whatever she wants to do because she knows they need her. And
I think the thing with Banks is she went AWOL because of this COVID thing for ages, for months and months. I'm not coming to town, and they had to change matches like at the last moment. But great to see her back. Both of these two are very good. AEW would love both of them. I think AEW would do it all to get either one of them two, to be fair, because they'd be superb if they go to AEW. Not going to happen. Should we look at night two then?
So we've got Orton against The Fiend, which we have
covered that
ranted about in good detail. Yeah. Then you've got Nia Jax and Baszler defeating Natalya and Tamina.
Sorry to move, I know you've moved forward slightly, but with Randy Orton and The Fiend, what did you make of Bray Wyatt getting released? That was a huge shot to me. Like, I know that he's had these unfortunate issues and stuff, and they were handing him a load of money. He was on TV, he was coming back unfit, all this other stuff allegedly.
Man, I don't know. It was a shock, wasn't it? But I'm like, he doesn't really need the money. He was getting paid millions a year. He's going to take a few years off and just see who's the highest bidder when he's ready to come back. That's what I would do.
I think he'll go back to WWE eventually. I can only see him with the Fiend and stuff. I don't think it's totally done, in all honesty.
I don't see him in AEW, but you never know. Tony Khan's got the money to splash.
But it depends. But there we go.
So match 2 was Nia Jax, Baszler versus Natalya and Tamina. And you all know how I feel about Nia Jax. Probably a general nice person in real life. Yeah. But she shouldn't be in the wrestling ring.
Another one that was released, unfortunately. I think, this match wasn't particularly good. When you look at this, this disbanding the women's tag team division here is just in full stead, isn't it? You've got this match here. This was just a throwaway. It was the longest match, sort of, besides the main event of the show. But for me, when we look where they go on to, we've covered Tamina, Nia Jax and Shayna. Nia's obviously gone. She's not wrestling. And Shayna, they're not really doing anything with either, to be fair.
Man, I have something I need to bring up to you because I know you'll get what I'm talking about. So Shayna Baszler has this like caution shoe look on one of her legs. I know that's the one that she uses to kick.
Yeah.
But my brain just goes, if you're telling a story, why would they not just attack the shoe that stands out that you're going to kick?
Of
Like,
course they won't do that. It's too much,
if
too
you've
much
got this
content.
big, massive black and yellow shoe, like this is the one that's going to hurt you, why would I not just attack that one?
It takes too much common sense.
That's too much for the writing team. They're not paid that high. That's at least 10 grand more. But moving on, we've got Kevin Owens against Sami Zayn. This is the one that had the Logan Paul thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a fun match. It was good to see Logan Paul there. It got a bit of notoriety. Kevin Owens re-signed, which is a shock to me, but good on him. Done right for his family. Sami Zayn probably going to re-sign as well. This was good. I hope that
for the money that they offered, I would re-sign.
I'm not too sure if Sami will go on to be like a main eventer, unfortunately, but Kevin Owens they're pushing him, aren't they? Which is good to see. He's great work.
Aye, it's definitely Owens needs to be in that main event picture. Then he looks different, looks like a wrestler, knows how to work. There's no anywhere else you should put him.
Yeah.
Number 4, we've got Sheamus against Riddle, which was.
Riddle went on to good things, I'd say. Definitely. Sheamus is always kind of solid. I think this was a good match, really. I think they're both gone to good things, really.
And the one that I've ranted about endlessly, the Nigerian drum fight, Apollo Crews versus Big E, which made no sense. Nobody explained what was happening here. This was WWE booking. You know what we're going to do? We're going to get like something.
They threw a gimmick out. They realised they gave the match away at Fastlane the month before, and rather than having to put the same match out again, they thought we'll come up with this gimmick. In essence, the gimmick is designed to protect Big E, because Big E obviously goes on to be the world champion later in the year. We get Dabba-Kato will come back with no explanation. He's got some sort of heritage, which has never really been covered. And Apollo Crews now is basically the level of an opening act, a superstar, WF Superstars or something, or WF Jacked or something now. He's just nowhere.
Just looking at this here, man, that match was only 6 minutes and 50 seconds.
I thought it was longer. I actually finally enjoyed the match, to be fair. I
thought they could have done like a stipulation match, but this one just didn't. Shouldn't have been. It made no sense.
It was an honor match. It was nice to see Dabba-Kato come in, because you don't often get these interferences that lead somewhere. But it was okay. But it was designed to protect Biggie. That's the sole reason why.
And then we've got Rhea Ripley against Asuka, where she just
changing the guard. Asuka's obviously injured, I believe. Never really been the same. Been missing for months. Comes back, needs a real fresh character because she was being used so much. And Rhea Ripley, save Rhea Ripley. She's the same level as Nikki Ash now.
I think they need to let her, write her off as, just send her away for a wee bit and then bring her back when fans.
Send her back to NXT, really. If NXT was able to have wrestlers go back and go back and help develop, then maybe. But I don't trust them to fix this, Rhea Ripley, unfortunately.
No, I think she's probably going to be. She's had her title run. She'll get another one in a couple of years, and she'll just be sitting where she is the new consistently, because that's a lot of these people, a lot of these wrestlers. Something that I feel is they're just sitting taking a paycheck. Like
it's their dream job not their dream job. A lot of them, it's their dream job. They're fans, and the money they're getting paid and stuff. It's
you would definitely be like, the money weighs it up. You're getting 800,000, 400,000 a year. You're still going to sit there, but then you're like, this is just ruining your reputation elsewhere. So it's, if you leave, you're going to be a jobber elsewhere, because nobody really cares. You've just been jobbed and hidden up in this other.
Definitely.
But the main event for night 2 was Roman Reigns against Edge and Daniel Bryan, Daniel Bryan, which y'all know I don't like him. I really don't. But I feel his AEW work has been a lot better. I remember him back in the Indies, so that ROH style. Loved him back then. Went to WWE. Went to WWE, and it was like, nah. And then when he's with AEW, it just brings that old school style that I remember him doing back. I've done a whole rant on it. Lost like 50 subs because I said I didn't like Daniel Bryan. You know what the IWC is like. But he's obviously made that jump and is doing fantastic work.
Yeah, I think he's uncomfortable as a heel. That's controversial from me, but fantastic worker. This match was superb. I really thought this was a one chance to get the belt off Roman without Roman being pinned, which they didn't do. I enjoyed it. Edge there. They built up the Royal Rumble payoff, basically, but for me, it was okay. Strange to push Daniel Bryan when he had no intention of re-signing at this point. But you give AEW like one of your premier wrestlers in your main event of the biggest show of the year, which was kind of strange. But WWE's loss is AEW's gain, so fair play to AEW for getting him signed.
And Roman Reigns is obviously just this guy.
He's a wrestler of 2021. He's wrestler of 2020.
Nobody's touching
the only good thing in WWE. I'm sorry to say that he, fortunately, is the only good thing.
Definitely, man. As a year in review, kind of obviously we've ranted about all the stuff that we didn't like. This year has been so hard to watch, and seeing people like DWE Dan, yourself, just get burned out with watching the product. Like it's like I can't talk about this anymore. This is so bad.
The thing with it is you want it to be good, you want to see investment, but for me, what did it ultimately is failed storyline follow up, as we said earlier, like stuff with where we had sort of Hurt Business disband, and then we had T-Bar and Mace join temporarily, and then never gets followed up. The Alexa thing for me was the killer, really. I think when we didn't get that follow up at WrestleMania after 7 months of investment, and the fact that I think the biggest trouble I have is going into these pay-per-views when I do watch it. Roman's never going to lose. It'll be nice if we have these matches where you've got a question mark of who's going to win. But small criticism. I think the biggest tragedy I'd say in 2021 is the releases. I think that's kind of been really, really tragic. WWE have made some massive mistakes, in my opinion, releasing wrestlers, and it's not the wrestlers' faults. People at the end just lost their jobs just because Nick Khan's trying to cut costs, and it's WWE made the most money ever. Yet they're cutting wrestlers. It's just.
Do you think WWE is going to sell? So for me, as somebody who loves business and that kind of stuff, I say they're setting up to sell to a streaming platform like Amazon, Netflix, something like that, because they guys they try to invest heavily into sports, especially Amazon. It's open there. They could pick up these guys for what Amazon making a month probably would be like half of it. They could pick up WWE for, and it just makes sense. It's going to make them 200 and odd million every quarter, and it's just going to be there. I see Amazon taking them and just leaving it the way it is, just as it'll be a shell of its former self. And us as wrestling fans,
there is a good chance maybe that happened because the fact they're releasing these wrestlers and they've got no fear of people going to AEW, despite having the lowest Raw rating ever this year in parts and stuff like that. The biggest victim in this, besides people losing their job, are the fans, because the fans ultimately are having to watch a product blindly, hoping it's going to be good. And they're some people are just going to accept it. Some are just going to say, "Oh, I accept it. It's fine." But you don't have to accept it. If you go back and look at old wrestling, there is some good out there. You
can go to WWE Network and you've got that unlimited stuff there from like WCW, ECW, WWE, and you don't need to watch modern wrestling because it's really, really hard for me. Like I said,
as you once said on one of your videos this year, I think it was about Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley. Where are we going? And I think that's the perfect kind of statement for 2021. Where are we going?
Say that every single video, man. Where is this taking us here? It's like going into a taxi and just going to take me home. Like they just drive you somewhere, just drive me somewhere, and they just take you some random place. So where is it we're going?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's difficult, but there has been some positive in 2021. I think CM Punk coming back has been fun. Some of the match quality has been particularly good. Hoping 2022 is better for the fans, everyone that's still watching. That's for sure.
Definitely, man. So finishing off the stream, is there anything you want to finish with, like a prediction or whatever? What do you want to finish with?
What do you want to finish with?
Finish it better than WWE do their matches when they write it.
I think unfortunately more people are going to be released, and I think that WrestleMania will be Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. Well, I think that will be the big match going into WrestleMania. Which
I hope not. I don't want to see it again.
It's something we've seen already, like in multiple incarnations now. It's going to be watered down by that point, which is a shame. But no, just look for AEW to hopefully grow. Hopefully WWE does put on some good shows for the fans. And just enjoy your rest. If you still watch it, I hope you enjoy it.
If you still watch it, just keep bearing on. It might get good again. And I keep saying that I'm hoping this is going to get good again. I'm not holding up much hope in 2022. AEW is a place that I go and get my wrestling.
Not when Nick Khan's around, though, unfortunately.
No. Man, so thanks for being on. What I'll do is I'll end the stream here. Everybody go check out Jonesy's wrestling stuff. You've got some great videos from the past. Obviously, you've not been making as much recently, but you've got some great videos from this year, last year that have just been good. But I'll end the stream here. And
no worries. Thank you for having me. Cheers, guys.